Alright, so the madness, my madness, she continues. Yet another cheap 2.1 system gets a Bluetooth upgrade. This time even Bluetooth 5.0. And yeah, still a bit of a variation from last time, so this is not going to be a pure repetition, although a lot of the elements will be similar. So this is just the speaker output for the two satellites, and it's very hard to work on this. I mean, I could have not been lazy and desoldered this. That way a much better access would have been guaranteed, but yeah, it is what it is. And so let's try and eject the Bluetooth module. And I'll briefly talk about what's going on here. So this does have an extra feature. So last time I made it automatically try and repair, and that's not always fun to have. So I've actually gone back on that, and I no longer agree with that. It should still be an option if you want it, but that's about as far as I can agree with it. And so what I now have is one of these touch modules. Let me see if we'll get some focus on this, which says touch. And I've sanded down the connection so I can put it up as close as possible to the wall. Or let's see where we mount it. So this is actually something that's yet to be decided. Has this 6-pin, I don't even know what package this is. Is it SOT23 or some shit like that? I don't know. So let me try and zoom in a bit more aggressively. Maybe we can get some digits. Oh yeah. So 2238. And so what we have here is basically there's a linear transformer inside. It's going to be a pain to locate, but it's on the bottom and it's sealed in its own little box. And right, you can see the mains goes right to it, and then two wires come back here, and those are already 12 volts. I don't think rectified. The whole thing is actually shielded with this heatsink, so there's not any good view of the actual circuitry. It doesn't matter though. So there's a bulk capacitor over here, 12 volts. It's 12.5 or something like that. And actually this this remote is only a soft mute kind of deal, so it doesn't actually turn the transformer off, as right, obviously. And so most of this shit is still energized. So I wanted two things, right? So get a power supply for the Bluetooth module that would sync, right? That would be in sync with the main like power button, so that when you turn the thing off, the Bluetooth module would turn off and it would disconnect from your phone or whatever you have connected to it. I'm usually wary of drawing current, even if it's 100 milliamps, from anything that I'm not 100% sure can take it. I've burnt some car radios doing this, and I've since learned my lesson. So basically I'm taking my main power from the 12 volt bulk capacitor, which is always at 12 volts. I'm feeding it into one of these modules, which by now you guys should get accustomed to because they are super awesome. So I removed the pull-up resistor for the enable pin, and this is extremely good practice. So just take a pair of snips and just flick it off. And also I remove, also with the snips, with a pair of snips, the what's it called, the potentiometer over here, and bridged the 5 volt connection. And now I basically have a buck converter with an enable pin, which is the yellow wire, and the yellow wire goes to this place, which I have no idea what the fuck this is. All I know is this is 6 point something volts when the thing is on, and 0 when the thing is off. And so this basically kills the Bluetooth modules and turns it on. So next thing I wanted was a way to actually get the Bluetooth module to reconnect to a device, right? Kind of a connect button. And yeah, of course you could do this with the GPIO pins on here, but I'm too old for that shit. I really am. So I'm doing this ghetto approach whereby I took one of these, one of these touch sensor modules. See if I can get more light onto it. And you can see it has two connections, right? And these actually govern whether it's active low, active high, and whether it latches or not. So this is actually quite a capable chip. I'll put in the functional diagram over here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and one more thing that I've done to this is, as you can see, I removed the LED resistor because this was drawing like 15 milliamps. And it's drawing almost nothing without the LED. So, and I'm doing this because this is kind of taboo what I've done here. So I really can't recommend it. I can only say it worked, and I've tested this for what, like half an hour, and it didn't die, but it still might. So let's see. So minus for this is minus, of course, ground. You do want to get the ground on the isolated side. So the top ground, not the bottom one. And then if you use the common button, this actually is the 1.8 volt reference generated by the QCC3008. And so I'm basically using that to power the Bluetooth, the sensor chip, and what it's set to is non-latching active low. So it leaves it high, and when you touch it, when it recognizes a touch, it pulls the IO line low. And the IO line is connected to the MFB pin, which on these modules is the, let me see, it's the 5th one up, if I'm correct. And it seems I am. And yeah, so basically this resets the chip and it'll go into pairing mode automatically. So let me plug this in. Let's see if it's on. It is on. Right, it is connected to my phone, right? And let's touch it. Boom. It's connected again. Boom, it's connected. It's connected. And yeah, so basically in the next section I'll be let me see if I can show that. So let's first unplug this. That's crap. Right, so we have this monster subwoofer over here. Those wires I am stressing beyond their maximum stretching point. Some people will get that reference. Not many though. And so back in the day, they've actually hot snotted these mains wires in. And so I'll need to hot melt those back in place. I have my hot melt glue gun up and ready. And I need to see where I can glue, first of all, the Bluetooth module, which shouldn't be super critical, but the reset button. So I'm thinking about having you touch this to reset it or some crap like that. That should be pretty funny and very mature. So maybe we'll go with that. We'll see. I'll just set the camera to the side and get to working. So let me see how I can. Oh, and one more thing that I have not yet mentioned are the connections on the main board. So this was not super critical, the audio connections. So the audio connections came out here, and the problem is this wire is pretty thick, so it's actually 26 American wire gauge, which is too much, but I have a lot of it now, so I'm pissed with the cock you've got. And what I did manage to do is highly unsurprising, but you can see these traces here. So I did rip them out. I did rip one out completely. And so what I have done is I've cut bits of copper wire. So let me see if I can spawn one. So I've cut pretty thick ass bits of copper, and I've just surface mounted them kind of over here. They did have some test pads, if you can see on the right channel. And so these now reinforce the thing a bit better, and also a bit of Captain to keep the ground from touching random crap here. Okay, so let's get to hot melting stuff. All right, we have that going. Next up, we kind of have to set the Bluetooth module into place. So we'll try another different angle again. See how that goes. Its wires are also going to have to get glued into place somehow. Alright, so I think we'll just set this over here like this. I'll just need to tape it into place until I hot snot it there. Let me see, this should do it. Ta-da. Should I press it down with that? I guess I could just use a screwdriver and not give a shit. Probably do that, right? Just hold it down like that, maybe center it a tiny bit at least. My hot melt glue is boiling, literally. You know what? This is pretty fine, but I'll try and hold it down. Why not? Man, and this is using like 90% of the hole size we have, which I mean, I guess you want that, right? Yeah, okay, that's more than ample enough. Alright, so basically I've gone ahead and somewhat succeeded in getting this into place. Problem is, it doesn't want to really stick down, like down. Okay, so I think I'm done. It is a hot melt bonanza in here. I mean, it was before as well, but now it's a bit worse. I do find that the black hot melt is a lot stronger than the other colors. Or at least it's a lot stronger than the clear one. But yeah. So it's definitely not pretty, and do keep in mind if your widget or project is going to stay in direct sunlight, this crap will melt, will soften at least, and so don't rely on it for structural strength. For example, I have a friend, and you know who you are, and he's putting lead weights into his portable speakers, and he is tying that shit down with hot melt, and I have had those weights come loose after a day at the beach, so do keep that in mind. But this will be in a domestic environment, so not expecting it to sit in too much heat. And if stuff does get loose, I mean, it's not going to be super tragic. Worst case, it's going to start rattling. By the way, this is why I've stuck shit down as often as possible, just to make sure that nothing will come into direct contact with the casing. But yeah, I'll just put this back together. Alright, so it's actually been another probably even like 3 days since I've shot the other, it's maybe like 5. And so I've been having this pretty serious issue. So apparently Logitech, what they did is, they were like, yeah, well, yeah, the planet and pollution and stuff. Someone couldn't sleep at night. So what they did is not add a clunking switch on the back, right, which would completely cut power to it. Because there's reasons, right? I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty inconvenient to have it there, right? So they have this remote which people will bring up to their table, and this has a power button. But there's no way there's 220 on this, right? So what they have is basically a mute for the amplifiers, which might even be like class AB. So those will actually burn quite a bit of power. Putting them in standby will significantly reduce the draw. So I just cut this out right now. There was a power button indicator there. I'll tell you why just in a moment. So yeah, this would basically mute the amplifier. That is all this would do. Everything would still be energized at 12.5 volts, except the mute line, right? But then they went a step further, and that is actually kind of nice what they've done there. So in here, there's actually circuitry for detecting if there's noise on the audio lines, and if there isn't, this will go into sleep. So that is actually quite nice. They have a pretty rudimentary circuit because it's not, it doesn't seem super deterministic in its timing. So sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes less time. If you smack this on the table, it will wake up from sleep because of the microphonic effects of who knows what capacitors. But yeah, so that's a big issue, right? That's a big issue. So I've added Bluetooth to this. I want you to be able to come into your house, lick the bottom of the bass reflex port. It will reconnect. It will work. However, if this goes into sleep, my Bluetooth module gets powered off, and you can't reactivate it with the touch sensor that I've added to the bass reflex port. So that's a pretty big issue. I've actually the guy whose speakers these are actually came over, was supposed to take custody of him, and yeah, nah, so we did notice this, and yeah, I've been cracking at it ever since. And so this is how this looks, and all of what I've done is basically look at the pinout. So that's very nice. So they have ground left and right, as it says on the other side. So signal out, right? So signal comes in, ground left, right, and goes out, ground right, left, sorry, red is right. And then it does have a standby in pin. This actually gets pulled up to 4.5 by this circuitry over here, and this wakes up the stuff on the amplifier side. There's a micro here, or what is this? Like, let me. Yeah, a Holtec micro. So yeah, pretty. Damn, like you really don't need a micro for this kind of crap, but they're so cheap that it was probably worth it. And so what I want to do now is basically bridge this completely, because what I have done is basically bypass the entire mute circuitry. I've actually pulled it over here at some point, but that so it's basically now always 4.5 volts, always, regardless of whether this is on or off. So this has pretty much no bearing on anything. You would actually want it to be on, because I don't know, I actually don't think you would necessarily want it to be either on or off, but yeah, anyway. So I'll be bridging this right now. It looks like only these connectors are used, so the bottom ones. Let's fire up the gun. So let's show you guys how fast the TS80 warms up from cold. And this is like really cold, right? So from stone cold. I mean, it's not stone cold, but you get the point. So boom. And it will be drawing 32 watts peak because it has Ralim's custom firmware running, and boom. So let me try a Big Live three-handed approach. Actually, I don't think I wanted to connect with the other shit, but it didn't, so yeah, we're fine. Okay. And so now it's basically always on, and the power button indicator cannot influence the system, for better or worse, but think we should be fine. Let's put this back together, and I'll be gluing back the wires so that they won't rattle inside the sub. And I think what I also need to do now is add, right, as it stands, this has no way of being turned off, so the Bluetooth module will always be on and will always be connected to your phone. So if you somehow, or for some reason, want to turn it off, the only way you can do this now is simply by unplugging the mains cord, which is suboptimal and highly inelegant. So you do lose quite a lot of style points for this kind of restriction. What we'll be doing is somewhat inelegant, but we'll get the job done in any case. I wanted to have a case mounted like circular mains switch, but I don't have any of those. I will actually order some, so I'll just be putting this shit one I found in one of my drawers. We'll just put this in line, and so this will basically just cut power, and everything will be off or everything will be on. It's still no, it doesn't go to sleep. Yeah, so it'll basically be always on, and I'll actually measure how much power it burns, because that's also, yeah, a bit sad now, but I don't know. It is what it is. Alright guys, have a good one.